Hey guys, Stephen Bogren here, Pro Physique. Today what I want to talk about are what are some of the biggest challenges I've had in coaching. So hey everybody, hope you're all having a good day so far. Sunny for the time being here in Florida, so I will absolutely complain because it's hot and humid and gross. But not the case everywhere, obviously. So I kind of thought that this was a good follow-up for what I talked a little bit about yesterday on my last YouTube video, in sort of things not always being the greatest, right? And so with that, there's definitely challenges with coaching, right? There's definitely some things that I think can be very difficult and hard to handle, both mentally and then realistically, like how do I make this work logistically. And so I thought maybe it might be cool to talk about some of those things, because I know that a lot of people who watch my channel are either personal trainers or coaches. A lot of the people I work with are in the industry, and I definitely got a huge step up in terms of being able to come on over at Pro Physique, and it was just it expedited the process of going from no clients to having clients, and just making a name for yourself so much easier and faster, that I definitely got through all of that, right? And so for me, that was definitely one of the best parts about it for me, is that Paul provided me a platform to really succeed, which was great. So can't ever be thankful enough for that, obviously. But it allowed me to progress at a much quicker rate, and it definitely taught me some things through it. So first and foremost, the hardest thing for me as a coach, though, and I don't know that it's changed since I've started coaching, I don't know that it will change in the future, but it's definitely feeling like I've let my clients down. When I feel like I haven't delivered, or that they weren't rewarded, or that just something bad happened, that's probably for me the most difficult thing to deal with as a coach. I see the amount of hard work that people put in. I see the things that they give up and the sacrifices that they make. I know how invested they are in the process, and so when you see all of that, and that they've trusted you with this, and you've done you're doing your best to make sure that you uphold that, right? That you respect that you don't take for granted, not only, obviously the financial commitments that they're making, not only with you, but with competing, especially for ladies, it's super expensive. But the emotional and the psychological investments that they're making in the process too, I don't want to let my clients down. And so whereas I think that is probably the most difficult part of coaching, because, when they don't place, or when something's out of my control, that sucks, It sucks that, we so often put I did good or I did bad based on a placement, right? Because yes, it's competition, yes, that's the end goal, but for a lot of us, fuck, I got last at my first shows. Yeah, that's tough. It's tough to deal with, so I understand the sting of that too, and that's not something that I want my clients to feel. I want to set them up for success as best as humanly possible. And so when sometimes things don't work out, that makes it very difficult. And I think that that's the hardest thing for me as a coach to deal with. And Paul definitely gets to hear me bitch sometimes and lose my shit and then back off. But at the end of the day, it's a subjective sport. There are definitely some really big guidelines and some things that we want to make sure that we're adhering to, and we're bringing the conditioning, and we have the look, and we have the muscularity. But posing, stage makeup, smile, stage presence, confidence, poise, all that stuff matters for something like bikini, right? And there's just so many things. You could literally stress out and cortisol dump, and then poof, it changes everything the day of. And so there are a lot of things that we don't have control over. We don't get to control, the decisions that the judges make. All we can do is bring the best package that we have. So for me as a coach, being able to deal with that, to do my best not to take that personally, and to make sure that I'm supporting my clients and making sure that I'm getting their feedback, and then responding appropriately too, right? Because not every client's always been happy with me. Not every client loves me. Not every client wants to continue to work with me, and that's okay. I think that a lot of times as humans, we like to take that personally. And so that can equate to anything, right? We can always take something very personally that doesn't, maybe it's not necessarily super personal, it's just a thing. And so sometimes we have to be able to step back, be objective with ourselves, and that's always been very difficult for me. So my first and foremost is the fear of letting my clients down and disappointing them, and them not being rewarded, right? But there's been a ton of things that I've had to go through in terms of my coaching experiences that I've had to get better at. I've absolutely 100% had to improve upon if I wanted to be where I am today. And the same thing being said, one of the biggest challenges is to continue to understand that where I'm at today, there's still places I can improve upon. It's not that it's not good enough. It's not that I'm not doing a good job, but it's being open to the fact that change is good. I can definitely still get better, and there's definitely still things that I can learn and become more efficient at. And so I think when you're being successful, and I would 100% consider myself being successful right now, my clients seem happy, like life is not terrible. But like I can still be better, right? So that complacency and fighting that complacency, and I think that bodybuilding helps with that because we're consistently fighting complacency with what we're doing, but also understanding that I'm still in a good spot, being able to enjoy that, being able to enjoy the time that I get to spend with my competitors and my athletes and my friends and the people in the industry. That's in and of itself another thing. And obviously a lot of these go both ways, in terms of like, it's not just as a coach that you can experience these things, you can definitely experience some of these as an athlete too. But I think what helped me to get to where I am today is I was very thankful. Paul had gone through a lot of these growing pains already, right? Which means that I could learn from him. Now, I could do things my own way and try and make the same mistakes, or I could learn from him and become better, and take the gap of time that was going to take for me to become able to do these things and make it much narrower. So I would say one of the biggest things for me, from a coaching perspective, is my processes. How are my processes? What do they look like? Am I being efficient with my time management and how I'm doing things, right? So you have to look at things from a very objective overview, right? Where am I spending the most amount of time? How do I make that better? How do I increase my efficiency? Not taking away from quality, right? Because there's definitely, you don't want to take away from quality. We've seen coaches that do that, and we all know how that goes, right? A lot of you guys end up reaching out to us. So first, we don't want to let go of that, right? If that's something we're known for, it's definitely not something we want to give up. So how do we keep the quality but increase the efficiency, right? And a lot of it is experience. Yes, experience comes down to a lot of it. But if you realize that something is taking a lot of your time as a coach, as a trainer, you want to look at that and say, how do I make this better? How do I make this better so that I have more time for other things that are also going to add value to the services that I'm providing, to what I'm doing for people, but not take away from what I already have. So that's been a big part of it as well, It's really, you learn by experience and you learn through time. I think for me, if there's one thing that I could tell people who are trying to get into coaching, who are trying to make a lifestyle out of this, it's first and foremost, make sure your priorities are straight. If you care about your clients, if they're first, you're going to be successful because that's going to shine through. You're going to make sure that you're doing the right things. If you truly care, you're going to be making sure that you're pursuing knowledge, that you know enough, to do the right things, that you're not putting them in a bad place, right? You're going to make sure that you're making sure that they're set up for success as best possible. You're going to be doing the things that matter. So I think, obviously there's a lot that goes into coaching. There's a lot that goes into the processes. But if you can understand, one, put yourself in their shoes, make sure that you care enough to really make sure that you can feel like you're letting them down. Because if you don't give a shit about your clients, you shouldn't be fucking coaching, plain and simple. But then you have to make sure you're looking at your processes. How do you become better? How do you add value to the services and what you're providing to your clients? But also make it so that you're more efficient and now you can have more time to do more things to continue to add value and make it better and make it a better experience. So for those of you that are looking at coaching, personal training, whatever it might be in the industry, hopefully that helps. I just figured I would give you guys a little bit of my growing pains, a little bit of my perspective on the profession. So that's it. I'll leave it there for this week, guys. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you next week.